So, section 2. This section is very important because we're going to talk about theories of language development. If you would go back and check chapter 1, we had like different frameworks in developmental psychology. This is actually initiated from that argument. Again, we have like some sort of similar argument here. For example, we have like, again, operant conditioning by Skinner. We have, again, Piaget here. We're going to talk about Vygotsky. But first of all, let's talk about different learning approach for language development. The first one is, and I guess one of the oldest one is Skinner's operant conditioning. He believed that children can just produce some certain sounds, for example, a, ma, or something like that. Then mothers or fathers or in general parents, they can just reinforce them. For example, if a child is just saying that ma, mom can just say mama several times and the child can just pick up the correct format of the word and just say mama itself as well. Same goes for any other vocabulary. For example, if the child is just want to say that dog, in the beginning, they might just say something else. For example, even say D or like another word. But the mother gonna correct them and just give them some feedback and gonna just reward them to just pick up the correct format of vocabulary. This actually can help us to understand social learning theory better, in which saying that children, they're going to imitate different sounds from older peers or from adults or like from siblings. For example, if they are just calling something in a wrong way, for example, if they are calling like, for example, let's say a dog as like a D or as like, for example, something else, another word, they can hear the correct word and they can just imitate their parents or their sister or their older brother. On the other hand, we have Chomsky's theory, which gonna be a nativist approach. This is very important. I guess you all know about Noam Chomsky. Um, like he was like the most important person who argued against Skinner and believed that maybe Skinner's view is not the best because the way Chomsky actually framed language development is just based on biology. He believed that there are going to be some biological mechanism inside of the brain that can help children to just pick up language so fast. Yes, there are going to be some environments interaction, but the main part is all about biology. But the question here is why? What was Chomsky's rationale about that? Like, how come he is just saying that there are going to be some biological mechanism for that? The answer is observing children. Basically, Chomsky looked at children and said that how come children can learn language so fast and so easy, but adults they cannot? They are struggling a lot. For example, if we want to just start a new language, we always just struggle in syntax, grammar, like different parts. So how come children, without knowing anything, they can just pick up a new language all the time? That's why Chomsky is just talking about language acquisition device or LAD. This term is very important. We're going to talk about this all the time and you're going to have it in your book. Make sure you're going to read that carefully because this is so important. But like in a nutshell, LAD gonna be a box inside of the brain, and basically it is like some sort of brain mechanism that can help us to analyze speech and pick up language. LAD is just so advanced in children. For example, whenever a child is just hearing a sentence, they can understand this part is a verb, this part is a noun, and this part is a direct object naturally, right? For example, they can understand that they can just make some changes in verb part. For example, say played, played, playing, but they cannot do the same for noun, like naturally. For example, they wouldn't say that, let's say, dog, dog, dogging. I mean, they might say like, they might make some mistake, yeah, but eventually they can just pick up this part is a noun, but this part is a verb, and like the grammar for verb is just different from nouns. That's why Chomsky believed that LAD or language acquisition device, it is based on biology and it is like something that is like totally pre-programmed inside of the brain. Read Chomsky's part like crazy. You should read that because it is so important. There are gonna be some exam questions. Skinner is also important, but like Chomsky, just the essence of current language development theories is very important. The next argument gonna be sociocultural approach by Vygotsky and cognitive development theory. First of all, let's talk about Vygotsky. Again, Vygotsky is just talking about context and social interaction. He believed that, or let's say pragmatics. Now we know the correct word. So whenever we are talking about Vygotsky, we're going to talk about environment, we're going to talk about context or pragmatics. It is very important. Vygotsky believed that at age 2, thoughts become more verbal and speech makes sense. Like before that, children, they are just making a lot of mistakes. They just talking nonsense. I know that, seriously, because I'm doing a project with children and sometimes I literally have no idea what they're going to talk about. But yeah, by age 2, their idea just kind of makes sense. Not 100%, but at least you can just understand what they are talking about. But we should consider that children in general, they do have some pre-verbal knowledge. Like they know some stuff, but they cannot express that. This is actually the same idea that Bailarjan, I guess you remember that from chapter 7 and 8. She actually worked on that and just tested children in another aspect to just understand whether they know more or not. Based on Vygotsky and sociocultural theory, another scientist called Brunner came with the idea of language acquisition support system, or LASS, L-A-S-S. So LASS is just kind of in contrast with LAD, because like LASS is just more focusing on the environment. LASS believe that, for example, yes, there might be some device, biological device, but this device must interact with the environment. And environment is just as important as biology. So we cannot say that, yes, there is a device and ignore the role of environment. We have to consider them equally. Again, go back to Chomsky. The main argument against Chomsky was like Chomsky didn't consider environment that much. He said that, yes, they're going to be environment, but he didn't actually explain how environment gonna interact with LAD. But in Brunner's theory or LAS, he actually mentioned different criteria for the environment. He also considered biology as well.